Do you ever think about those actors who leave behind a legacy that feels timeless? The kind of actors who aren't just remembered for their talent, but also for the way they seem to position themselves as part of our lives? Well, today, we're going to talk about one such incredible individual. The one, the only, Bill Bixby. A name that echoes through the corridors of classic Hollywood and remains etched in the hearts of millions, not just for his formidable acting talent, but also for his resilience, charm, and undeniable humanity. Wilfred Bailey Everett Bixby III, yes, that's his full name, was born on January 22, 1934 in San Francisco, California. With a name so distinctly sophisticated, it's almost as if he was destined for greatness. But growing up, Bixby wasn't immediately thrust into the spotlight. No, his path to stardom wasn't straightforward, and his journey would come with its share of challenges, triumphs, heartbreaks, and ultimate glory. Bixby's early life in San Francisco was relatively ordinary on the surface. His parents were hard workers, his father was a store clerk, and his mother a department store executive. Bill was a bright, personable child, and he later attended Lowell High School, where he quickly developed a knack for entertaining his classmates. It wasn't so much about seeking attention as it was something innate, that magnetic quality within him, something effortless. He had this natural spark, a charisma that couldn't be taught. You've probably seen people who just immediately brighten a room when they walk in, right? That's Bill Bixby. From day one, people were drawn to him. After high school, he attended San Francisco City College. At first, success wasn't imminent. Bill wasn't quite sure where he belonged. In fact, for a while, his path meandered into the more traditional territory of studying pre-law at the University of California, Berkeley. But the same way many of us feel those little nudges from life, it quickly became clear to Bixby that his fate lay elsewhere. College wasn't calling his name, acting was, and the camera would soon beckon. In the late 1950s, Bixby began his journey as an actor, but there's an interesting backstory here. You see, he served in the military first, where he honed a sense of discipline and determination, traits that would define him throughout his career. After completing his military service, Bill didn't just sit around waiting for the perfect opportunity to come his way. Oh no, he was proactive. He turned every opportunity into a stepping stone. He enrolled in the Pasadena Playhouse in California, a breeding ground for spectacular talent like Gene Hackman and Dustin Hoffman, learning his craft in an environment that championed hard work and authenticity. But here's when things get interesting. In 1961, Bixby was tapped to appear in the TV series The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. It was just a small role, but you know what they say, from tiny acorns, mighty oaks grow. That appearance marked the beginning of a prolific career in television that would span over 3 decades. Soon after, in 1963, Bill landed his breakout role as Tim O'Hara in the hit sitcom My Favorite Martian. Now, if you know anything about 1960s television, you know this was one of the most iconic shows of its time. A lighthearted sitcom featuring an eccentric Martian living secretly on Earth that immediately endeared Bixby to audiences everywhere. His charm, comedic timing, and ability to bring sincerity to his performances turned Tim O'Hara into a household name. At this point, it became clear that Bixby wasn't just a passing Hollywood fad. He had what it took to build a career that would last. And oh, did it last. From there, he graced Universal screens once again in another iconic TV series, The Courtship of Eddie's Father. If you've seen it, you know why this show was so special. A widowed father as the central character, raising a child on his own, and the heartwarming father-son relationship at the core. Bixby's portrayal of Tom Corbett was heartfelt and deeply human. He brought incredible tenderness to this role, which resonated with both parents and children alike. This series was more than sitcom fluff. It tackled real-life issues while still being hopeful, warm, and optimistic. It ran from 1969 to 1972, enchanted audiences, and cemented Bixby's role as a TV father figure in America. Now let's talk about arguably the most legendary role of Bill Bixby's career, the Incredible Hulk. Yes, that phrase immediately conjures up memories of David Banner, the mild-mannered scientist with a terrible curse. Now, let's get one thing clear. Television in the late 1970s wasn't exactly famous for its high concept shows, but here comes a story that blends science fiction, comic book action, and human drama. And at the core of it was Bixby's captivating performance. No matter how many times his character would warn, "Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry," fans never got tired of it. You could feel the quiet pain and torment of this man through Bixby's nuanced portrayal. He wasn't just playing Banner, he was Banner. Every week, The Incredible Hulk, launched in 1977, delivered more than entertainment. Bixby's portrayal brought emotional depth to the series. It showed audiences the humanity behind the monster. And speaking of monsters, let's not forget Lou Ferrigno, who played the Hulk himself, as the two actors shared an iconic partnership. The series ran for 5 seasons until 1982, but Bixby wasn't done. You see, he came back for 3 made-for-television Hulk movies during the late 80s and early 90s, an act of dedication to fans who couldn't get enough of this iconic character. Beyond his acting talent, you need to understand that Bixby wasn't just a face on the screen. As his career progressed, he began to delve into directing. And we're not talking about small-time stuff here. He worked on numerous television classics, including Blossom and Sledgehammer. He proved that his creative mind was just as sharp behind the camera as it was in front of it. To him, storytelling was an art that didn't confine itself to one role. Whether he was acting or directing, it was clear. Bixby wanted to give audiences something genuine. But let's pause for a moment and talk about Bill Bixby, the man. You see, for all the smiles he brought to millions of faces, Bill's personal life was often marked by trials and tragedies. He was married 3 times, but it was his first marriage to actress Brenda Benet that brought both love and heartbreak into his life. They had a son named Christopher, and unfortunately, Christopher passed away at the age of 6 due to a rare throat infection in 1981. The pain of losing his son deeply affected Bixby, as it would any parent, and his marriage to Brenda ended shortly afterward. Then, in another devastating blow, Brenda tragically died by suicide a year later, in 1982. Through it all, Bixby carried himself with the same quiet dignity that had defined his career. He didn't let his personal heartbreaks overshadow his professional life. On the contrary, they seemed to deepen the emotional resonance he brought to every role he played. But in the late 1980s, Bixby's life took another turn when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He chose to battle the disease privately, continuing to perform and direct, even as his health waned. In 1993, Bixby married Judith Cliben, finding love once again amidst the hardships. Bixby continued working until the end. His final directorial work was on an episode of the series Blossom, and it was evident that even as his body weakened, his spirit and passion for storytelling remained undiminished. On November 21, 1993, Bill Bixby passed away at the age of 59, leaving a legacy rooted in kindness, professionalism, and extraordinary talent. It's no wonder that Bill Bixby is remembered with such reverence. He wasn't just an actor, he was a storyteller, a father figure, and a man of immense compassion. Whether we remember him as David Banner turning into the Hulk, or Tim O'Hara dealing with his Martian roommate, or Tom Corbett offering sage advice to his on-screen son, we remember a man who put his heart into everything he did. And maybe, just maybe, that's why Bill Bixby's legacy will never fade. He showed us not just the roles, but the real meaning of the human story, a legend, a fighter, and an icon. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the remarkable story of Bill Bixby. Thank you for watching, and let's never forget the man who gave us not just characters, but pieces of his own soul. Share, comment below, and tell us which of Bill Bixby's roles impacted you the most.